and that is to do with the chronology between the crucifixion and the resurrection, because there seems to be a bit of confusion. Sometimes it refers to 3 days, sometimes it refers to the third day. Do we mean how many days were actually involved? So let's have a look at that. And there are some apparent contradictions. Now, a number of times throughout the gospel records, Jesus told his disciples what was going to happen to him. And this is recorded in various means. So here's one example here from Mark. The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And notice he said kill. He was going to die. And when he is killed, after 3 days, he will rise. And then you have other instances like this one from Luke, where again, Jesus tells his disciples, for he, referring to himself, will be delivered over to the Gentiles and will be mocked and shamefully treated and spat upon. And after flogging him, they will kill him. And on the third day, he will rise. Now, if it's after 3 days, does that mean, will 3 whole days have to pass and he rises on the next day? Whereas in the Luke example there, the way that's written, it says he would rise on the third day. Now, if you throw this passage into the mix, it gets even more confusing. Again, this is Jesus rebuking the Pharisees this time and the Jewish leaders for rejecting him as the Messiah. And asking for a sign. And he said, well, just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a great fish, so the Son of Man, referring to himself, will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So which is it? Well, we need to have a look at Jewish time compared to how we mark time in a Western mindset. And this is a quote from some Jewish writings. Now, we do have a detailed historical background for this, which John has done, and we have as a PDF article that you can download off the Ask John Mackay site. We'll put the link to that up in a moment. But anyway, remember, this was in a Jewish culture. Jesus was a Jew. He's talking to Jews. And so we have to... How did they mark time? Well, in this quote from some Jewish writings, we have a teaching, a day and a night are as an owner. Now, an owner refers to any period of time. So if you're talking about a day, it refers to a day if you're talking about a different period of time. And a portion of an owner is as the whole of it. So if you're talking about days, each day and each part of a day is going to be counted in the mix. So if you keep that in mind, and the other thing we need to look at is, well, Joseph and Sam, what day is it?
Well, for you it's Saturday. For you it's Saturday, but for us it's Friday.
Right. But we're talking to each other in real time. So yes, it's Friday in the UK and Saturday in Australia.
We'll call it Friday. We'll call it Friday. Friday. We'll solve the issue then and there. There you go. I've gotten rid of all the time borders.
All right. Well, why is it Friday where you are and Saturday where I am?
Because of the time. Well, it's based off Greenwich Mean Time, isn't it?
That's right. It's to do with when we mark the changeover from one day to the next. So in Western time, we go midnight to midnight. So you haven't got to midnight yet, but we've passed it in Australia. See, Australia is not really at the back end of the earth. We're actually out in front. And right. But Jewish time goes from sunset to sunset. Okay, it's basically evening and morning. Now, where did they get that from? Right, evening and morning. So sunset to following sunset. So if we're going to narrow it down to specific times on the clock, that roughly means 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you are living in Israel and you want to know when the Sabbath is, and that's important, you can actually look up the various Jewish media, the newspapers, and they will tell you precisely when the Sabbath day begins and when it ends. And so when you should light candles at the beginning of the Sabbath and when it will end. But basically it's 6 p.m. to 6 p.m., so sunset to sunset. So if we put all of those things together, remembering, right, a whole day and a part of the day are counted in the mix, and when do you mark the time of transition from one day to the next? Let's have a look at the days between the crucifixion and the resurrection, or the sequence of days as we celebrate Easter. So in Western time, we start off with Thursday. We have Thursday night, Maundy Thursday, right? We transition through midnight to Friday, then another midnight to Saturday, and another midnight to Sunday. So let's reconcile that with Jewish time going from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. We have 3 days. So the first day is from 6 p.m. To 6 p.m. and then we have the second day and the third day. Now, if we put that together with the actual events that we read about in the Gospels that Jesus described, that he would be handed over to the Gentiles, he would be mocked and sent out to be killed, and he would die on that first day, and he would rise on the third day or 3 days later, depending on how you express it there. So on the first day, we know that he was arrested on that what would have been Thursday evening for us if we were going by Western time, in the Garden of Gethsemane, tried by the Jewish leaders, handed over to Pilate and sent out to be crucified, and by the following 6 p.m. he was dead. So the first day was the crucifixion and the death, so he was dead by the end of that day. That's why the women had to hurriedly prepare their spices, but they couldn't finish the job. In the second day, he rested in the grave. So he's in the tomb, he's still dead. That day is completed by 6 p.m. And then on the third day, before the sun rose, sometime, he rose from the dead. So he transitioned into his resurrection body. The tomb was not open to let him out, right? He could just go in his resurrection body. The tomb was opened in order to let the witnesses in, and they would have come at first light, right? Very early in the morning, we're told, at first light, when it was safe to actually go out so that they could see. The women went out expecting him to be still dead, but he had already risen. The angel told them, he's not here, he has risen. So he rose on that third day, or 3 days. So it does all fit together. So you can't use those apparent contradictions to say, oh, well, it's all a made-up story. It does actually fit together if you look at the history and you look at the way time is marked.